Hi, let's start with the beginning. I want to tell you today how to cover our wooden surface with a primer. Let's see what materials and tools we need for it. First of all, we need two wooden blanks. Why two? Because covering with the primer we can do using two methods. Second, we need our tools. It's a brush and a piece of sponge. Then, of course, we need a primer for wood. Sometimes you can use not a special primer but acrylic paint. White color or maybe some other, but it have to be light. Then we need some water, sandpaper P240 and acrylic varnish. That's all we need to get great smooth wooden surface. So we take our brush and primer. Then I take one of the wooden blanks. And now start to cover my blank with a primer. Try to smooth out primer on a blank, and you need to have no strips of primer here. The surface have to be smooth and bright white. Sometimes we need to cover our wooden surface second, third, fourth and fifth time if it is necessary to get a bright white color. Why do we need white color? When we glue decoupage napkin, white color makes our picture on the napkin brightly. So now I take a second blank and a sponge and start to cover wooden surface by sponge and primer. That's the second method how we can cover the surface by primer. I don't like this method because when we covering the surface, primer makes such bubbles. When it dry, those bubbles will be the defects of our surface. But sometimes this method is necessary to get really beautiful bright color. Not every time, but sometimes. So we need to know how to cover surface by this method using sponge. Now we need to dry our blanks and maybe cover it second time to get perfect result. Well, now our primer is dry. So you can see this blank is one we covered using brush. It is more smooth than this. Here maybe you can see some defects, kind of bubbles of dry primer. Maybe if you don't see these defects on video, you will see them on your blanks, on your work. So to make our surface more smooth, we need to take sandpaper and now delete our bubbles of the primer. Doing this work, I touch my fingers to the surface, and in that way I know is there some bubbles or I deleted them. Now you can see that I deleted all the defects from my wooden surface, such defects as bubbles of primer, maybe some dots or drops, and fibers of fibers of wood that rised up when we covered our surface by primer. And you need to look to your second blank, and maybe there would be some defects too, such as fibers that appears in every time when we covering our wooden surface by any primer, varnish or even glue. So now we need to make our wooden surface more smooth. We can use our acrylic varnish and brush for this. Clean our brush in a clean water from the rest of primer and use it to cover wooden blanks by varnish. That's an easy process, just covering without any problems. And then we need to dry this varnish to get very smooth surface. That surface will be the best for gluing a decoupage napkin. That's all. Now our dry blanks are ready for gluing decoupage napkin, and in my next video I will show you different kinds of napkins and different types of gluing them on the blank. Where to find beautiful napkins? You can visit our shop on Etsy and choose any beautiful napkin you want. You're welcome.